am Agatha and came from humble backgrounds. I am a journalist. I went back to school and also did law. But in the end, I work more as an activist. You could call it an activist journalist because I do journalism, which is really sort of advocacy journalism. Yes. Like I told you, as a journalist, I practiced in mainstream media for about 8 years. Then later I ventured into publishing on X, or Twitter as it was then, because I figured out that so Uganda is like the second youngest population in the world. We have many young people, and the young people don't buy newspapers. When you ask the young people their main source of information, it's social media. And social media was largely littered by fake news, false information, misinformation. So I decided to get into that space. If it's where the young people are going to get majority of their information, it's better they get the correct factual information. So that's how I started publishing on Twitter. I would say I would love for it to manifest in a bigger, to a more significant number than it is, because not many Ugandans are on Twitter. Not many Ugandans can read English that I publish in, and we are working on that. I and the team here at Agora, we are working on how to have a more extensive reach into the other audience that we don't get on Twitter. We are lucky that some of our work from Twitter goes into makes rounds in WhatsApp groups, but we still want to reach a bigger audience. The audience that we reach now, I am happy that it sort of inspires people that I've met. It has inspired a change in conversations on Twitter, because now it's more of civic engagement. Yeah. So when I was in the mainstream media as a parliamentary reporter, and I think from 2011 up to around 2016 as a parliamentary reporter, when you're a reporter, especially when you work for the media house I worked for the Independent, a media house that we never did daily news, so we never did breaking news or press conferences, or we dug deeper. We always wanted to bring something new. So in Parliament, that's the approach that I had. So I cultivated sources in there that would give me information that is not what we get in committee meetings or plenary in the afternoons. So these people, we kept in touch even when I remember when I was at LDC and very busy with LDC and not paying attention to what was happening. I think that's around the time Anita Among rose to power. And things started going wrong. On the first day she stepped in, and people were saying, but you are the only one that can write about it. The rest, your colleagues have either been intimidated or compromised. I don't know how true it is, but that's what my sources were telling me. But maybe it is true, because you could see that when we came up with it, in fact, I remember it was Jimmy Spire Sentonga that used to ask, but what do the journalists that work at Parliament do? There's a whole group of UPPA, Uganda Parliamentary Press Association. But yeah, so these people kept giving me information. But the more information came after we announced the exhibition, the parliamentary exhibition. But as you know, even a year or two before that, as publishing information about Parliament, if you remember the scandal about the luxurious cars that were bought for the Speaker and her deputy, I think I wrote about that early 2022. Yeah, so I had been writing about what was happening in Parliament, the illegal recruitments, the salaries, all sorts of things, but I didn't also know it was that bad until we announced this exhibition, and many people were fed up. I can assure you, I don't even know the source of the documents I was sharing. Yeah, but it would go through so many layers because people are scared of the repercussions. I think what the current leadership of Parliament has done thoroughly well is to intimidate people. Yeah, but somehow, what the people need to know, both at Parliament and in any other office, is that you cannot keep people quiet forever, especially when you're doing something wrong. There's going to be one or two, and I know we have a society that has become so corrupt, but there's always going to be one or two people that are not happy with what's happening. Some it will be because they are genuinely concerned about the future of this country. Others it will be because you annoyed them. So what happened is that Anita Among has angered so many people. She came in, there are people that were rising in the ranks on merit or experience of how long they have spent in Parliament. But she put them on what they call katebe and brought in her people. And you find that someone who just came into Parliament 3 years ago is already now assistant director. That's somewhere people would get after spending 12, 15 years. So those that had been there for all those years are bitter. They are unhappy. Now, some of those are the ones that will come and give you information. Yeah, and some of them are those that are seeing that by the time this term ends, and Parliament is critical in every way. Legislation, oversight, everything, appropriation. So everything we are dealing with, if it's hospitals that are not working, if it's medical interns that are not deployed, and we know what that means, if it's roads that look like how they look, if it's bad laws that are taking us in a dark place, it's Parliament. So there are people that really understand how critical Parliament is and are concerned about the direction it's taking. I tell people, for me, my part is giving them information. That's the role I will play. In other functioning systems, that information would have led authorities to taking action. In many other countries, it's the journalists that tip off the police and any other authorities. In our country, you can write all you want, they will not care. In fact, you're the one that will be threatened and persecuted. So I think it was as the result of that information we gave out that the young people thought, we cannot have a parliament like this. We cannot have a parliament where one person, the Speaker of Parliament, spends about 400 million a week, when we do not have medicines in the hospitals. And that's what's led to the merged Parliament. I don't know if there's anything more that will be done, but I think there will be, because there's this gradual change, change in how people feel about the people in power.
Yes.
And I think at some point, many Ugandans will stand up, because I can't do it. I am just one out of 45 million people. So with the right information, I think many Ugandans will learn that this is their power. They're the ones that have put these people in these offices. The election is around the corner. I hope that if they fail to stand up in other ways, they stand up in the ways that we are not going to continue with these corrupt politicians that are living in opulence while we are impoverished and can hardly afford a meal. I don't think it's doing a job it's supposed to do. You can start from their priorities in terms of legislation. They will go to social media acts and try to just suppress dissent. They'll go to anti-homosexuality, as if that's the biggest problem Ugandans are facing, as if that's the reason women are dying in labor every day. Like, how was that our most urgent need? Right now, I think this week, they have started on the Lumu Bill. The Lumu Bill, which is to amend the Administration of Parliament Act, but which is focused on her getting out the leader of opposition, Joel Senyonyi, that she does not like, which is what she's done. Because when you look at the activities, the business of this parliament ever since she got into power, it is either they are censuring Zake or Namganza or, things that are personal to her. So now this bill is personal to her because she wants Joel Senyonyi out. Even the Computer Misuse Amendment Act, where she was criminalizing the use of social media, it's because she wants people like us who are criticizing her on social media to, yeah. And you saw that Anderson Oborora was taken to jail over that law, which we went and challenged in court, but courts have refused to hear it. Yeah. I can't even defend that because I have always found it, I don't want to say rubbish, but that's how it sounds like, because it doesn't even matter if I have anything personal against the speaker. What matters is the information, the issues I'm raising against the office of the speaker and the person holding that office. So let people come and interrogate that, and not start going into, she has a personal vendetta against the speaker. Like, I've never met that woman. How can I have a personal issue about someone I do not know? But that's what Ugandans have been reduced to, that no one can have, someone cannot be motivated by the desire to see this country be better, by the desire to see everyone be better. They think everyone is motivated by a personal interest. And I am sorry, I'm not like them. I'm not like the majority that are like that. I have written against the speaker. I have written against, I have been pursuing the release of Olivia Atuheire and the political prisoners. So there, who do they say I have a personal vendetta with? Would it be the court martial head, chairman? I have been pursuing the release of Sami Okanya, who was released yesterday. I have written about LDC. I have written about national water issues. I can't even name them. But because the Speaker of Parliament actually is the one who has outdone herself. She is the one that in her few years in office has done the worst in terms of abusing power and having people arrested, in terms of misappropriation of public funds, So she is the one I have written about the most. And anyone who wants to question me about what I've written about the speaker should come and say, Agatha has lied, this is not true about the speaker. No one has ever said that. And that's what should be interrogated, not how I feel about the speaker. I don't care about her. Because it's Parliament that gives money to State House without any question. The minority reports of the Budget Committee have always written about why are we giving this much money to the residence of two people, President Museveni and his wife. I have written about it and said this money is a lot for State House, this money is a lot for the office of the president, because those are two votes that all take a lot of money. So we pay a lot for where someone is supposed to work in his office, we pay a lot for his residence. This is still a problem of Parliament. Every time a supplementary budget comes, number one is still State House. Where we already spent a lot is where they get 2 or 3 supplementary budgets. And I've written about how supplementary budgets in Parliament are passed. So what else am I supposed to do? And that's why I told you that it begins and ends with Parliament, mainly. So let them stand their ground and say, no, we gave this much money. How is it possible that 2 people are spending over $1 trillion? They don't do that. 2 years ago, I was approached about the plight of Olivia Atuheire, who is the only lady that is among the 32 NUP supporters that were arrested in 2021. And as I do things, I think people tagged me, sent me emails. Olivia Atuheire, I said, who is Olivia Atuheire? What was the issue behind her arrest? Who was she arrested with? I went and interviewed Olivia Atuteire's aunt. I went to prison and interviewed Olivia Atuheire. I went to the court martial where they were being brought every other day and interviewed family members of these other prisoners, and I got the actual picture. And I also got the picture that these were trumped up charges because the government has failed to adduce evidence against them. So there was what the prisoners were telling me. Olivia Altaire's story was that I was called by police near our home in Namongo, a police post I knew, a police post where I even had a relative. And they said there are people that want to talk to me about a border rider who was taking a woman to give birth and stole from her and then gave them my number as his. I went as a good person who want to help find someone who is doing that. I went with just keys and an umbrella in my hands. But Olivia was charged with being found with ammunition. Now, when this person tells you this, it's this other side. And that's how our laws are. If you allege that I have done something, you have to prove it. For 4 years, they didn't prove anything. They just, instead, they started to coerce them to incriminate themselves. So for me, that was not hard to tell that this was just concocted, politically motivated charge. So I started to write about them, to highlight their story, the side of the story of their loved ones. I interviewed almost all the parents of and wives of these other people. These were young men. I think there was even one who was 19 by the time he was arrested, and their lives were just, they were rotting in jail. They were the breadwinners of their families. Most of these were border riders who would go ride a border and take food to their families, and they were suffering, and no one cared about that. And I wrote about these things, documented them on Twitter. Yeah, I think it's very bad. The situation is very bad. If you have a country where people can be locked away for 4 years, I think there are those that are locked away for longer. You have people on remand for 10 years. They have never been convicted, but they're in jail. To the point that even if they were convicted, they would have already served their sentence and finished. But now you're in jail for 10 years. Your case has never been heard. You are probably innocent. Then there are issues of torture that you've seen. You've seen the Kakwenzas, you've seen, there are so many. Yesterday, Sami Okanya came here with another young man, very young, that was tortured in prison. I have a video where this, what is this called, of the knee, it moves this side and this side. He was beaten that badly. The protesters, the anti-corruption protesters, they were all beaten. From CPS, you saw them. They even named the person that beat them up and brutalized them. Nothing happened. You have a Human Rights Commission that is always dismissing torture victims. So yeah, that's how bad the situation is. And there's much more we might not be seeing. We have people that we did a brief campaign about women that were evicted, forcefully evicted in Hoima, illegally. And they evicted them by torching their houses. They torched their houses. They beat up women and children. They raped women. No one cares about that. And we have written about that, and no one cares. The longer President Museveni stays in power and wants to cling onto it, the more people will resist. And the more people resist, the more force the government and its security agencies use. The security agencies are all clearly partisan. They serve one person. They do not serve Ugandans. Yeah. So I am worried about what is going to happen in 2025 and 2026. Yeah. Well, so yeah, we, after a long while of advocating for rights and doing all this work as an individual, we came together as individuals that were doing work separately and formed Agora. Agora is a Greek word that really means a marketplace of ideas, a public square, you know. So, and our main focus is on trying to raise Ugandan civic consciousness so that they know their stake in this country, and hold people to account. Yeah, they themselves are the ones that have the power to hold the leaders they put in these positions to account. Yes, so that's what we are doing, and yeah, the team is great. We have been doing so much with so little. Yes.